All right, so thank you for tuning in to Chomp at the Bit. I'm Kyle Edwards, of course. I know it's been a few days since, last heard from me. As I said, I guess last episode, been kind of busy, so I try to get episodes out whenever I can. And so for the most part, if I have some free time, I will do episodes, but it's just been kind of tough the past few days. I guess the last couple of weeks now, but anyway. So it's here. The NBA playoffs, the play-in, all that's been decided. The playoff matchups have been set. So in this episode, of course, I'm going to go through each of the matchups, give you some quick info on, what to look for, what's important, all that good stuff, and then give you my prediction for each series. I won't go into finals picks or anything like that. I mean, I may drop hints at who I'm looking at as a finals team, but main thing is just looking at these first round series right now. And I will keep up with my predictions. I've written them down. So once these series are over, we'll see which ones I actually got right and which ones I was way off on. But I'll take it based off of when game ones will be, since we have 4 games on Saturday and then 4 on Sunday. Now, the first game is the 1 o'clock game on Saturday, which is Jazz and the Mavericks. So I'll start there. Now, this matchup is the 4-5 matchup out west. Jazz are the 4 seed. No. The Mavericks are the 4 seed, sorry. Jazz are the 5 seed. This one might be the toughest matchup of the first round, only because we have questions about Luka Doncic and his calf injury, I believe, and necessarily what that means for him is because we already know he's going to miss game 1. I think there's questions about game 2, and I took that into consideration when making my pick, but what's also interesting about this matchup is I think it's a very important one for the Jazz, because if the Mavericks were to beat the Jazz in this matchup here, I do expect to see some changes with their duo of Gobert and Mitchell. I think Utah would probably look to move Gobert first. But if it's something where, Mitchell decides he no longer wants to play in Utah, then could see something there. Also, Quinn Snyder, the coach, it could be at the point where, he's let go and they try to bring in a new voice or something. So, like I said, the Jazz lose this one. We could see significant changes there for Dallas. Until we find out the real extent of Luka's injury, it's going to be hard to decide on this one. But there's something about the Jazz that I feel like there's something missing there. Because, as good as they've been in these regular seasons, once they get into the playoffs, you see their glaring weaknesses. For me, it's reliable second scoring option to Donovan Mitchell. There's too many times when games are close, their offense turns into, Donovan Mitchell hero ball. And I'm sure that may work for a game or two, but over the course of a playoff run, that's not the winning formula to me. Plus, it seems like there's so much pressure on Gobert to be, the eraser of all the mistakes on the perimeter, that I think Gobert's, defensive impact slipped a little this year. And then with the Mavericks, like I said, Luka aside, you have Dinwiddie, who can get hot, put up points quickly. You got Powell around the rim for lobs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm expecting Dallas to come out and play with a lot of pace. That's even without Luka, because if there is no Luka, you have to look at Jalen Brunson to take a bigger role. And yeah, I just think the Mavericks will look to run for the Jazz. The Jazz should be an up-tempo team as well. Like I said, if Luka misses the series, of course, I would say the Jazz are going to win. But I just have a feeling Luka might just miss game 1, maybe 2, and then come back. And ultimately, I have the Mavericks in 7 on this one. And that's probably mainly because Luka's going to miss the first game or so. Yeah, maybe a Gobert was a little bit more offensively diverse. That aspect would be enough to beat the Mavericks. Because in terms of size, you don't really see the Mavericks as being a big group. But I don't know. It could go either way with me. But I'm going to take the Mavs in 7. Second game of the day, we got the T-Wolves and the Grizzlies. That's the 2-7 matchup out west. The T-Wolves made it through the play-in. They went up against the Clippers in the 7-8 matchup. Won a big emotional game in Minnesota, as we saw with the celebrating and all that after. And quick note on that. Some people had issues with, what they deemed to be the over-the-top celebration of the play-in win. Which, once again, I understand why they said it. For me, I didn't really have a problem with it. It's one of those where, the Minnesota franchise has been down for so long that for this group, this being their first time making the postseason, I understand all the celebrating and the emotion, that went into it. Now, they're going to have to back it up, of course, against Memphis and, play well. If they go up against Memphis and get swept or something, then the play-in celebration kind of looks whatever adjective, whatever descriptive you want to add to that. But for me, no problem. Patrick Beverley, he's an emotional guy, so I didn't have a problem with it, only because it wasn't unexpected to me. Maybe you could say them beating the Clippers, a little unexpected, but Minnesota has talent. All their years of high draft picks, seems like it's finally paying off with Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns. You got D'Angelo Russell. You got guys like Vanderbilt. I'm sure some other names I'm missing, but the Timberwolves are an interesting team. And hopefully this is just their, first step on a little bit of a run here as a playoff team, maybe. But going up against the Grizzlies, it's going to be a tough matchup. The Grizzlies, one of the surprises of the season, I would say. Winning 56 games, winning 20 some odd games without John Morant. This one may be one of the more fun series to watch, in that you're gonna have a lot of young talent on display, a lot of new talent, and these are two teams that like to get up and down. So we could see a lot of highlight reel type stuff between Anthony Edwards and John Morant, and it'll be interesting to see the whole Patrick Beverley, John Morant aspect, because Patrick Beverley likes to play not only physically on the court, but mentally, likes to try to get into young players' heads and get them off their game. We'll have to see if John Morant can kind of see what Beverly's doing and rise above it, or does he succumb to it and maybe get too much into isolation or whatever, and and, I guess derail Memphis's, offensive philosophy or whatever. I think that's going to be the most interesting matchup in this one. Is what can Beverly do to Ja Morant? Can he keep him out of the paint? Force Morant to be a perimeter shooter, which we know isn't the most comfortable aspect of his game. Can Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, and those guys on the other side, I guess, keep their composure, play intelligent basketball? Because at times they kind of get ahead of themselves and can be a little careless with the ball. But it's going to be an interesting one. They're both teams that, like I said, a lot of young guys, not a lot of playoff experience, so that doesn't really sway the matchup in either way. But I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies to pull this one out. I got them in 6 games. I just think the 25 games they play without Ja Morant will pay dividends now. Because if you have a game where Morant struggles a little bit, you have Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, and other guys there that have gotten used to playing when he wasn't on the court, that I think is going to work. Now, can Karl-Anthony Towns be efficient from the outside to the point where, Jaren Jackson and whoever's guarding him gets pulled away from the hoop? Leaving open driving lanes for Edwards, Russell, those guys. We'll have to see. Or does, Towns get too too enamored with shooting from the outside, even though he's struggling and, playing right into the Memphis's hands? We'll have to see. Because we know that Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the more diverse big men in the league, so he's a tough cover. Like I said, give me the Grizzlies in 6 in that one. So now moving to the next game, 6 o'clock game on Saturday, Raptors-Sixers. Another interesting matchup because the Raptors early season, they looked like a team that, wasn't going to be a major factor for the playoffs. But they turned their season around. They have an interesting roster. Like, if you watch the Raptors play, it seems like outside of Fred VanVleet, it seems like their whole roster is between like 6'5" and 6'9" or something. It's interesting. The Sixers could be the worst team in the top half of the East that they could have gone up against, only because of the Embiid factor. And I wonder, what does Toronto do to, defend Embiid? Because we know with Nick Nurse, he'll throw zone, man, he'll throw whatever defense he can out there to see what sticks against Philly. I'm sure their game plan is going to be try to keep Embiid out of the paint. No easy buckets, stuff like that. Force maybe Harden to try to beat you from the outside. Hope Harden is off. And, Harden tries to play too much ISO ball, which would play into Toronto's hands. Even on the other side, Toronto's a team that can get up and down the court. Philly, transitionally, when playing against teams like that, can struggle. So there is a path for the Raptors to win this series. Ultimately, I think, like I said, this one is sneaky, in a sneaky way, a tougher series, to evaluate than most. I mean, like I said, looking at Toronto's roster real quick, The one guy they have listed at center is Birch, and he's 6'9". Well, I mean, you're going to have guys like Chua, who's 6'8", probably on Embiid at times. You might see Siakam on him. Thad Young. I mean, it's an interesting way that Toronto's built their lineup. Like I said, against other teams, it'd be great. But the biggest question is going to be, does Embiid assert his dominance down low against guys who are going to be smaller and shorter than him? Or does he play around the perimeter too much? That's going to be the key thing you'll see in game one. If Toronto keeps Embiid on the perimeter, yeah, Embiid's a decent shooter from outside, but he does way less damage out there than he would around the rim. Then Toronto has a chance. If you see Embiid living around the rim, Toronto's in big trouble. I'm going with the Sixers over the Raptors in 7. Even though with Harden and Embiid, it shouldn't go 7 games. I just have my questions about Harden and, you know, where his head's at, whatever, if his shot's going to be there. I don't know. And then Embiid has had his own playoff failures as well, so I'm sure that's going to be playing in the back of their mind. But I think they'll have enough to beat a Raptors team that's going to be scrappy. And I don't know, it's going to be an interesting series. And we already know with Toronto's vax mandates and all that kind of stuff that Thibault won't be able to play in Toronto. Thibault is one of Philly's, few perimeter defenders. We'll see if it turns into something where, Philly's looking to win their games at home, hoping to steal a game in Toronto. I think because of that, that could be part of the reason why I'm thinking 7. I also need to see something from Pascal Siakam. I've seen some playoff series where he completely disappears, and this is one of those where that can't happen. So, interesting to see what goes on there. But like I said, give me the Sixers in 7 over the Raptors. Then the final game on Saturday is the 8:30 game, Nuggets and Warriors. Two teams that dealt with some injuries this year for sure. The Warriors dealt with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson coming back from his injury, Draymond Green missed games. Haven't seen James Wiseman all year. The Nuggets, we know, Michael Porter Jr. Missed time. Jamal Murray's missed all year. So it's gonna be basically a matchup of Jokic's ability, even though he's a well-rounded player who affects the game, points, rebounds, playmaking, all that kind of stuff. But will his impact be more than the trio of Curry, Thompson, and Green? That's a lot to ask of Jokic, even though he's, possibly a 2-time MVP after this season. But in order for the Nuggets to have a shot in this one, Aaron Gordon's going to have to step up. Will Barton, Bones Highland, these others, as Shaq puts it, they're going to have to elevate their game. Because Denver does have talent on the team. If they can force a few games with off-shooting nights for Curry and Thompson, more the better. They have to pay special attention to Jordan Poole because, this year with the injuries I said, Jordan Poole has come to his own, established himself as a pretty decent scorer. So Denver's got to make sure they have a guy on him because you don't want him to get on a roll. Because, like I said, he'll be able to cover up for an off night from a Thompson or Curry. But out of those three, they're going to need probably at least two of them to have good shooting nights to get the wins against Denver. And if they want to go even further down the line, to have aspirations of maybe coming out of the West. Defensively, we'll have to see if they can get back to their early season level. Because we saw towards the middle of the season, where Draymond Green, Steve Kerr were talking about the team lacking focus and intensity on the defensive end. We're going to have to see if they can pick it up. Because we know with Jokic, he is not only a threat around the rim, he's a decent three-point shooter for a big man. You have to pay attention to him. And running the offense through him, he's an incredible passer. So defensively, you lapse in judgment, Jokic will be able to take advantage of that. With all that said, I'm going with the Warriors over the Nuggets. I'm going 6. I mean, it would be such a great series if Murray, Porter Jr. were, all the way healthy. This might have been one of the more entertaining series if that was the case, but I think Jokic will keep them in a lot of these games, but it just won't be enough to win a series. All right, so now we head to Sunday where we get the other 4 matchups. First game Sunday is the 1 o'clock game between the Hawks and the Heat. Hawks were the second team. Hawks made it out of the play-in. They went into the play-in as the 9 seed. They knocked off Charlotte Hornets the first stage of the play-in, and then Friday night they beat Cleveland. Cleveland as the 8th seed. They beat Cleveland to take over the 8th seed to play Miami the first round. So where do I begin with this one? The Hawks, we know, coming off their Eastern Conference Finals run last year, which I thought was overblown in terms of predictions and expectations for this year. Where the Hawks are, they're 43 and 39 for the talent on the roster. Not mad at that. Maybe they should have been a few games better than that, but they are what their record is. The biggest thing going into this matchup will be the supporting cast for Trae Young. Will they be locked in from game 1? Because Trae Young alone is not going to beat teams here in the East in the playoffs. But if Atlanta could get the steady production out of Bogdanovich, Gallinari, I guess those two are the main ones, Bogdanovich and Gallinari. They can get production for those two on a regular basis. And there are some questions with Miami. Don't get me wrong. Miami as a 1 seed isn't one of these overwhelmingly popular, dominant 1 seeds that you feel like an 8 seed has no chance against. Because, like I said, depending on which Miami we get in this one, do we get the Miami that's locked in and ready to make a run at the title? If that's the case, they should get by the Hawks easily. If we get the Miami team where 2-3 games out of the series, Jimmy Butler's hovering around like 10, 12 points. You're forgetting what if he's on the court or not. He tries to wait until the 4th quarter to try to do something and can't. If that's the case, Hawks will be able to steal a few games in this one. Bam Adebayo, does he dominate Clint Capella? If not, that keeps the Hawks in this one. Do the Heat, get below average shooting from Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, guys like that on the perimeter, Kyle Lowry? That would keep the Hawks in this. As a team in the Heat that well coached by Eric Spoelstra, I'm sure he'll have them prepared. Whether or not the team executes, it's on them, but they should be able to do to the Hawks what Cleveland did for like the first half in the playing game, where they were driving into the paint, finding cutters off the backside, and completely confusing Atlanta. Because like I said, Atlanta's not a good defensive team. But if you force shots from the perimeter and don't really play in offense, then you'll play into their hands if you're missing shots. So what's interesting to see, like I said, how Spoelstra gets them prepared, and if Butler can maybe keep his emotions in check and not have any more blow-ups on the sideline, they'll be fine. For the Hawks, they should be going into this looking at it as going up against the 1 seed, just leave it all out there. Play as much up tempo as they can. Don't get stagnant on offense and sit around watching Trae Young hoping that he bails you out late in the shot clock. That's not a recipe for winning basketball either. But I think I'm gonna go with the Heat over the Hawks in this one in 6. Like I said, those couple of games where Butler kind of drifts a little and doesn't really try to assert it, doesn't try to be the top dog in a couple of these games, and I think Atlanta could steal a couple. So I'm going to go Heat over the Hawks in 6. The second game on Sunday is Nets-Celtics. And this is the 2-7 matchup in the East. This is the matchup that's probably going to be the most analyzed, the most watched of the first round series, because the storylines are there. Kyrie, who was in Boston for a little bit, left, all this kind of stuff, still holds a bit of a grudge against Boston. Stomping on the logo, bottle throwing incident, all that stuff. We'll see how does that play into this one. Does Kyrie play in Boston and try to prove a point, try to rub it in people's face? We'll have to see. Do the Celtics players take their intensity to another level to try to dispatch the Nets? Get some revenge, if you want to put it that way. We'll see. The looming decisions on Robert Williams and Ben Simmons will loom large in this series. From all interviews that I've heard, all the speak, it seems like Robert Williams is very, 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 very close to returning. Whether that's a game 3, 4, 5, whatever in this series, seems like at some point he will be back. Ben Simmons, there's talk of him progressing and all this kind of stuff, and the Instagram post or whatever, him showing his basketball shoes. A lot of speculation around that, but if I'm Boston, I'm going into this matchup thinking Simmons probably won't play. I can't see a guy who's been sitting out so long, had his displeasures in Philly, gets traded away from Philly, still doesn't get on the court. Then we hear about a back injury and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not expecting Simmons to be a factor. Durant, we know, is just a gifted basketball player with his height and shooting ability. He's a tough guard for anyone in the league. Kyrie, great ball handles and great ability to just make shots. So offensively, the Nets are going to be good, although Boston's defense will slow them down in spots in these games. Offensively, if the Celtics continue to do what they've been doing since like January 1st, moving the ball, trusting each other on offense, playing defense together, kind of on a string, covering for each other, then this is a series that they should win. Not easily. I won't go there in this one, but that's going to be key for Celtics offensively. To take advantage of lapses on the defensive end from this Nets team. Like I said, for as much as Durant and Kyrie bring offensively, defensively the team struggles. And a lot of that you can say is with Kyrie up top. He has to be able to keep opposing point guards out of the paint area, because if they get by him, it puts more stress on the other guys on defense. And unlike that play-in game, I have more faith in Boston's perimeter shooters than I did in Cleveland's. I mean, that's the wrong play-in game. No, that's right, because Brooklyn played Cleveland first. Yeah, so Cleveland wasn't able to take advantage of that aspect of the Nets game, where I see Tatum and Brown and Derek White, Payne Pritchard, guys like that, Marcus Smart, Tice, Horford around the rim, being able to take advantage of an over-rotation from Brooklyn, or too much ball watching and, a couple of guys running free to the hoop. I think the Celtics will be able to take advantage of that in this series. And I think I'm going to go with the Celtics in 6 in this one. And all that talk about the Celtics smart to, go for the 2 seed, no problem with it. I think Udoka has instilled in this team that you shouldn't worry about who the opponent is, because play your game, can beat anybody in the East. Love that talk. I think Tatum's going to be motivated because he looks at guys like Durant and that class as the class that he feels like he should be mentioned in. So I think he's going to look at this matchup with Durant as a chance for him to shine against a great player, come out on top, and then try to change the narrative there. Jaylen Brown can be at times be the forgotten man, the guy who a lot of people wanted to move and bring in another player to play alongside Tatum, make it seem like Brown wasn't good enough. So a lot to prove on either side of this one. I do think the winner of this series will be able to give Milwaukee somewhat of a challenge for very different reasons. And I just think Celtics defensive ability and the transition that they made offensively with more ball movement, player movement. I just think it's going to be too much for this Nets team that's led by Durant and Kyrie, and then the rest of the guys, pretty big drop off between them. Seth Curry is going to be an important piece here because he missed all of his shots in the playing game. If there's a lingering injury there or something, that's one thing, but Brooklyn can't afford him to, miss shots like that in this series. So, like I said, Celtics 6, lock it in. Next game, 6:30 game, Bulls Bucks. Early in the season, this series probably would have been interesting, but season has gone on. Bulls slipped in the standings. They just look like a different team right now. The offensive confidence or whatever seems like it's gone at this point. If they're gonna somehow get it done, then what's his name? DeRozan and Levine are gonna have to play out of their minds in this one. Because with the Bucks, you know what you're gonna get: Giannis rim running, Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, the outside and the mid range, and Grayson Allen in the corners and the wings of the three. We know what they are. Bulls, not so much. Especially, like I said, where it seems like the Bulls kind of seemed like they were defeated at the end of the regular season. Understanding that, they've dealt with some issues, and with the Bucks looming, I'm sure they're wondering what to do about Giannis. For me, when it comes to Milwaukee, you let Giannis do whatever Giannis is going to do. You have to limit Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis. So many teams get in trouble with spending too much attention on Giannis and not remembering where Bobby Portis is, and he gets a wide open three or a dunk at the rim. Even Brook Lopez. We know that Brook Lopez will be open on the wing for threes, and for it being a make or miss league, we'll have to see how well he shoots from out there. But that's going to be the Bulls' only chance. Keep Milwaukee on the perimeter, gobble up rebounds, and try to score on the counter. But with that, I'm going Bucks over the Bulls in 5. I just don't think the Bulls have enough right now to compete with the Bucks. So Bucks in 5. I think that's the shortest series I have right now. Yeah, everything else I have is 6 or 7. So now, final game Sunday, and final game 1 of this opening round. Suns Pelicans. Pelicans fought their way into the playoffs like the other play-in tournament teams. They beat the Spurs the first round, well, the first leg of the play-in, whatever you want to call it. And that one wasn't too much of a surprise because the Spurs were kind of in the same boat as the Pelicans. But they had the showdown Friday night against the Clippers. Of course, we got the word with Paul George being out for the play-in game and all that, we know. But there was still some doubt from some people whether the Pelicans would win or not. The new duo of Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, I've got to say, has been somewhat of a success so far. And I do expect the road to end here because the Suns are the most complete team in the West for sure. Some could argue in the whole NBA. It's interesting. Phoenix knows who they are. They're trying to right the wrong of last year, but they made the finals, lost to the Bucks. Chris Paul still chasing that ring. Devin Booker looking to win a title will validate his stellar play the last few years. You got Monty Williams coaching Phoenix. He's really built a culture there, as we evidenced with witnessed. I don't know why I said evidence, but as we witnessed when Chris Paul went down right after the All-Star break, Phoenix didn't miss a beat, kept winning games, and like I said, was a dominant team out west. Pelicans are a nice story. I guess it would be interesting if Zion were here at this point. Everybody saw the video of him with 360 dunk. People were losing their minds. And for me, I know athletically, Zion is an athletic big man, but he's got to be on the court. Does New Orleans no good seeing him in a practice type setting, going up at the rim, dunking it, and then limping a little bit like away from each dunk attempt or whatever. I guess the only thing working against Phoenix at this point would be complacency, but I don't see that happening. I guess it would be good to see Ingram and McCollum on this stage against a really good team in Phoenix to see what that looks like and see if, I guess, New Orleans, where they should invest in this duo, whether they should invest in them, or I don't know. But I'm looking at this one as, unfortunately, I think the Suns sweep the Pelicans. And once again, there's no knock on the Pelicans right now because they're playing great. We're playing good. I won't say great. They're playing good right now. But Phoenix is just that much better. And Phoenix can come at you with waves of players. You got Ayton down low. You got Booker, Chris Paul up top. Yeah. What's his name? They stopped Frank. I think they have Frank Kaminsky, I believe. I think he's playing. I know he was hurt earlier, but they have Cameron Payne, who I've said on here before I wasn't the biggest fan of, but he played well in Chris Paul's absence, and he's a good backup point guard. So they have enough there. Question's going to be, like I said, can the Suns make it back to the finals? Time will tell. It's always difficult for a team to lose in a championship game or series or something to come back the next year, try to get back there. Tough ass. But yeah, I'm going to the Niners. Not Niners. Oh my God, the Suns. I can't believe I said Niners. I'm going with the Suns in 4. Maybe the Pelicans get a game and it's a gentleman's sweep of 5, but probably will be the most dominant series there. So just to recap: Heat over the Hawks in 6, Celtics over the Nets in 6, Bucks over the Bulls in 5, Sixers over the Raptors in 7. In the East, out West, Suns over the Pelicans in 4, possibly 5. Either be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep in that one. Grizzlies over the Timberwolves in 6. Maybe the most exciting series of the first round, with the Nets Celtics probably being the best series of the first round. Warriors over the Nuggets in 6, and then Mavericks over the Jazz in 7, depending on Luka's health. So there you are. It's my predictions. Quick little breakdown. You let me know what you think. Whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me. You can drop your title contenders right now. Who do you think will make the finals? I'll wait at least a couple of games in the first round before I give you that. But like I said, from the way I spoke about the series, you may have a good idea who I think will be there. But let me know. And you know what to do as well. Like, subscribe, follow, share this episode with somebody. Do it all. It all helps. Even if you have something that you didn't like, let me know in the comment section, or follow me on Twitter at Chompin' Podcast, where we can get into a nice little debate over there. And so yeah, hopefully you enjoy the weekend of basketball that's about to send upon us. And I know I'll be watching as many games as I can, and we will definitely talk more NBA as these playoffs progress. But trying to see what else is there on this weekend. Oh, the USFL kicks off this weekend, so we'll have to see what that looks like. But anyway, so thanks again. Like I said, I'm gonna try to be more consistent with these episodes, but like I said, busy with some outside stuff. I mainly work and all that, but when I can, I will give you episodes. So definitely stay tuned for that, and that's why you gotta subscribe or follow, or I guess if you listen to this on YouTube, notification bell so you'll know when I drop a new episode. But thanks once again. Be safe out there. God bless. And it's Easter weekend, so enjoy your Easter weekend. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your day. I'm out, and I'll catch you next episode. All right.